Yo, what's happening folks, and welcome back to the channel. And this video is an exciting one because I'm sitting here with my mate Miko. Miko is a good friend of mine, an artist, a producer. One of the things that Miko's brought to the Hit Lab and this studio specifically is that when he comes in here, there's always string players behind us and we've marked them up. However, he is an artist as well and makes really dope music. I'm gonna link his YouTube channel and all his profiles and everything down below. So please go and check that out. Welcome.
Yo, it's good to be here, man.
Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you do as an artist, as a producer, and all those things?
Well, so my, I do a variety of things in the music industry, and I started out sort of very traditionally playing piano and then the trumpet, and then, veered off into songwriting and production as well, and eventually, starting to work in studios, and producing pop music mostly, and gospel music. I started incorporating, like the more traditional musical elements like live strings and live brass and, things like that into my music and a lot of the kind of classic kind of cool stuff that, you can get the plugins and you get them in the box, but it's so nice to do the actual live stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, just having a whole lot of people in the room and getting the feelings and the feels and the energy of everyone,
And I'd actually never worked with a live string section before meeting you. And that's one of the things that you've actually brought into the facility, which is really awesome.
Wow.
And it's so true what you're saying, because when these guys start, when a section starts playing together, magic happens.
Absolutely.
And you can't actually recreate that 100% inside the box. On the topic of that, what is your video going to be about today?
So today I think I'm just going to share a little bit about how to in fact get the most out of using plugins and using the digital elements that you have at your disposal to create mock-ups of a string section or adding strings to your existing production, and just some basic concepts that, just to sum it up, you could easily block chords when you play strings. You could do that. That's one approach, but I think maybe something that'll help everyone out there is just to get the more kind of slightly more traditional approach, like to get that orchestral sound. There are certain things you have to do to recreate that, and you can do that using plugins. So that's kind of what it's going to be about.
That is super awesome, man. I'm super stoked. So guys, we're gonna get into that for a second, but before I hand the channel over to Neil to show you guys this, please head on over to the channel, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up. Ring the bell, that's it, man. Give us a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Let us know what you thought of the video. Go and follow Miko's work down below, his Instagram handle, Facebook. He's got a YouTube channel as well. Guys, without further ado, let me hand the channel over to Miko and enjoy.
Okay, let's get into it. So today what we're doing is we're using string plugins to create a string section that sounds as realistic as possible. Just some pointers on how to compose for a string section. Something that a little bit further than just kind of laying chords down like you would play the piano. That also works. That's also a good way to do it in certain contexts. But if you really want like a slightly more realistic sounding string section, you need to have a certain approach. Something that's a little bit more like the traditional orchestral style of the way the orchestra works. So there are three important things to remember. So the first thing is you will need some good plugins. You're going to need plugins that have a bit of flavor and that have a very realistic feel. Sounds that are in a particular space that have been sampled really well, and they need to already have a little bit of reverb on them. The plugins I like to use are firstly cinematic strings. I like using the Spitfire strings, LA scoring strings. You also get East-West, you also get Synphobia stuff. These are all really nice. I have the ones I prefer. It's a lot harder to do it with plugins that are not as good as those. So firstly and foremost, you need a good sounding string plugin. Secondly, and this is a very important part of this whole thing, is that you need to spread your voicing. You need to spread the notes. So the way you would play piano and play the chords, you can play the chords close together, but if you really want that string feel, you want the space between the notes from all the way from the bottom to the top to be really kind of open. Strings work like voices. where you have, in a choir or vocal ensemble, you have soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. And with the string section, you've got, in a similar way, you've got violin 1, violin 2, viola, cello, and then basses. So you've got 5 voice parts. And oftentimes you double notes in that voicing, which is really cool as well, you know. That's those are the first 2 points. The third point, and a very important point, is the treatment of the sound, you know, like the reverbs you use, and then also your performance. Okay, so you got to have the reverb for the space, and then you got to perform each part as though you are the player playing that part. So instead of blocking the chord with, like you would normally, like you just play the chord on the piano, you're now playing a violin part that's like the violin 1 player in the orchestra. You're basically performing it. So it makes sense within the chord that you're playing, but it also makes sense as a melody on its own. And that gives you the realism. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's get going. As you can see in my session, I've got a piano loaded up. So we're going to do just a very, very simple piano part. We're going to play simple chords, all in the key of C, and just 4 bars. And I'm going to show you guys how to add strings. I've loaded up some string channels. So I've got violin 1, violin 2, violas, cellos, and basses. I've also loaded up a string ensemble patch so that I can show you what that sounds like as well. In Contact here, I've loaded Contact, and I've loaded cinematic strings, and I've loaded the violin 1 patch on my violin 1 channel. And then subsequently the same for violin 2. You'll see there's violin 2, cinematic strings, and I've used that on all the channels. On the string ensemble channel, I've also got cinematic strings going there. So let's start by doing a very simple piano part, just something that we can use to add the string ensemble to. Okay, so that's really nice. We're just going to clean that up a little bit. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to use my marquee tool just to clip off some of the extra pieces. And then I go into my piano roll. I highlight all the notes with Command A. I've set my quantize to an 8th note. For this, I'm going to quantize. Sometimes you don't want to quantize too hard because you want some more realism, but for this one, we're going to quantize. So I press Q, and you can see it just tightened everything up. Then just to show you guys what it would sound like with a string ensemble, where I just block the chords, I'm going to keep my voicing relatively open as well, just to give you an idea. That you can achieve a lot with an ensemble patch as well. That might be something for another tutorial. So here we go. Yeah, so very simple, very nice. It sounds really, really good. As you can see, when you use a really good plugin, it immediately sounds good because the samples, you know, are really, really good. On my ensemble channel, I've got a reverb loaded. As I said, you know, reverbs are very important. I like to use Valhalla Room, and then I've set it to the wide stereo hall. You've got a whole bunch of different things you can use here. I like this one because it's a little bit wider. It's quite deep. It just sounds really, really nice. And then what I really like to do is I like to image my reverb a little bit so that it gets even wider. And that's just to give it that size and just to give it that spread. If you can imagine an orchestra sitting on the stage, like they all basically, you know, they sit quite wide, you know, and it fills the room with sound. So you want to recreate that. So I've added that. You'll hear that if I switch that off. And you can hear there's already a little bit of reverb on that patch. But if I add my reverb, yeah, and it just gives it a little bit more width and just gives it, you know, a bit more character. Okay, so we mute that. And now we're moving on to what I like to do, which is do my parts individually. And you can perform these using the mod wheel as well, which gives it even more expression. For today, I'm just going to keep it simple, and I'm just going to play it really quickly and just add each part as we go. Okay, so violin 1, here we go. Okay, so you keep it really expressive, you know, when you're doing this. I just quantize that. Okay, so now you've got a very, very basic violin 1 part, just playing the melody that the piano is playing. Then, because you have the 4 voice parts with the basses, that makes it 5. You have room to double a voice part. So what I like to do is I like to give my main melody to the violas as well, but then I drop it down the octave. So you get this unison melody going through, like, which just defines the string section really well. So there I've highlighted the MIDI, and I use Shift, Alt, and down. And now you've got that. So if you listen to that, and as you can hear, sometimes a unison is enough, you know. In certain productions that you're going to be doing, just a unison string line is more than enough. It's quite powerful, and there are occasions when you want that. And here comes the violin 2 part. So bearing in mind, I'm going to do it just below the violin and just above the viola. And I'm going to stick to the chords that I've used already. You're very, very safe in doing this as long as you stay within the key. And the idea is to give it like some independence. So you're playing a part that you imagine is a little bit like a melody as well, just to get that movement. Okay, so let's see. Here we go. And there you go. Really, really nice, really, really smooth, and very, very interesting. So it's got some movement, and it fits in really, really well. And then for the cello, moving on to the cello, we are going to do something a little bit more busy, because generally when you're doing an arrangement, a lot of different instruments in the style, you have parts of the instruments that are moving, and then you have parts of the instrument standing still. So what you have is, at the moment, the melody is quite smooth. Everyone's kind of not too busy. So I can afford to put something a little bit more busy on the cello. And cello is a really emotive instrument, and it's really cool. So you want to give it like something that features a little bit. Here we go. Yeah, there you go. Very, very cool. Nice and emotive and moving. And again, you want to perform these with a sense of, you know, like you really want to get into it so that you get the feels out of your strings. Okay, now the bass. I like to keep my bass really, really simple. Just holding down the root notes and just adding the bottom end. And you'll notice that with strings, whenever you add the basses, it just gives it more size. And that's what you're really after. Okay, here we go, basses. there you go. You'll notice that on my string bus, I also have a reverb. I've got this wide reverb, the same like I had on the ensemble patch. And then I've also used the S1 imager from Waves to just widen my strings a little bit, just to the edge. And this is what it sounds like. So let's listen to the ensemble patch first, so you can get a sense of. That's really, really nice. Okay, very, very cool. And then if you listen to the individual ones, yeah, so a little bit more character, a little bit more excitement. Then what I like to do to beef up my arrangement is oftentimes, you know, your production progresses to another section, and then you want a little bit more size. You want even more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this over to another 8 bars. I'm just going to highlight everything and then press Command R, and that doubles everything. And then I've got some hidden tracks going here, which I've already prepped for an additional violin part. Same patch as before, first violins, and then I've also got a solo cello that I like to use just to add size to the cello part, because the cello part's such a nice feature that you want it to have as much emotion as possible, and just adding that extra solo cello part just gives that cello the little bit more like rawness to it. So what you'll see is I'm going to highlight the cello and then Alt and drag, and I copy it down. And then the same for the violin 1 part, for the violin, high violin 1. The reason for a second violin 1 part is that in the orchestra, you find that certain sections, the violins actually split. So not just violin 1 and 2 anymore, but you get like violin 1 splitting into 2. And that's what I've replicated here with within the plugins. What I like to do is I like to use violin 2's notes, and I drag it up, and then I'll just highlight that and really just put it way up there, just to give it that really wide glassy effect. Okay, and that really sounds that sounds really good. So that's our arrangement. Let's hear what it sounds like. Yeah, so dope, so dope. Just something I wanted to add quickly. My solo cello patch, and the one that I like, is the one in LA scoring strings. It's just cello, full legato sustain. Okay, I like that one. And then I've also got a little bit of EQ on that. I just cut the lows out just so that it kind of cuts through the ensemble a little bit. There is a lot more to learn regarding this this kind of thing. You know, there's a lot of EQ that needs to happen here as well when you're working with plugins and trying to get the plugins not to sound so muddy, and you know, that's for a different tutorial. So stay tuned and hope to see you on the next one.
Well guys, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's really awesome to see Neil do that sort of stuff. Get in touch with him, get in touch with us. Go and visit www.thehitlab.co.za.
Yeah.
And on our website, you'll actually see Neil is one of the resident producers at the studio.
Come and see us, man.
Come and visit us if you're in South Africa. Get in touch. But guys, it's been real. Like, subscribe, comment, do all those things, and I'll catch you at the next one. Peace.
Yeah.